my name is Palma Accardi, and you're watching Tidal Flooding Talk. We are live streaming here at the Irish Pub in Atlantic City, and it's Cinco De Mayo.
It is.
So we're celebrating here at the Irish Pub.
Perfect place for it. We don't want to be anywhere else.
Yep, and we're brought to you by the New Jersey Coastal Coalition.
I'm meteorologist Dan Skeldon. Thanks for joining us, guys, on this kind of Cinco De Mayo weather-wise, right? Just kind of soggy, rainy, wet.
The pun master.
Yeah, we have another guest with us who's just a little bit older than last week's guest. I don't know your age,
Just
Joe Martucci.
Maybe by about just a couple weeks.
Couple weeks,
That's about it.
Yeah, Kenzie was our guest last week. My new daughter, my first daughter. She was 7 weeks old yesterday. Joe's a couple weeks older than that. Joe Martucci from the Press of Atlantic
Thank you.
City.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. 27 years old, so we got the 7 in there,
Okay.
right?
All right.
How you guys doing? Feels like it's been so long, even though it's only been a month, couple
About
of
a
weeks,
month or
right?
so,
Couple
yeah.
of weeks. So happy to be here, even though it is crappy weather, but good weather to come in here at the pub.
Yeah, we are just
Enjoy what's
kind
going on.
of flooding Palma with meteorologists all month
I
long.
know.
So this is kind of the spring of meteorologist guests.
Yes, and if you haven't seen the other 2 episodes that Joe was featured on, he is a meteorologist for the Press of Atlantic City.
Yes.
And do you want to tell us even more about yourself?
Yeah, so I grew up not in the southern part of the state, but grew up in the northern half of the state in Union, New Jersey. Went to Rutgers University, got a degree in meteorology, and was pretty involved there. We had the TV program there, meteorology club, all the usual weather stuff. But weather has been something that I've always been interested in, and I tell people all the time, and Dan can probably attest for this too, like most meteorologists, it's something they've wanted to do since before, what would you say, middle school, Dan?
That's
a lot
right.
of people.
Yeah, I
For
can
me, it was
agree with
third
that.
grade.
Yeah.
The
For the
meteorologists
people,
that we've had,
right? The
they
meteorologist.
always have
I'm
it.
sure Jim's probably felt the same way, but it was. And sometimes people can point to specific events, but for me, it was just like really something I've always wanted to do. Like I remember one of the first things I ever remember was being in my grandma's basement, and Al Roker was on TV, who was on at the time local news in New York. And my aunt or my grandma was saying, like, look, Joe, that's going to be like you on TV. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, yeah, that's going to be me. So even before that, I must have been interested in weather. But anyway, after that, I worked for a brief period of time at a TV station in Morristown as no weather, just all reporting. Did that for a couple of months. And then I worked for a company called WeatherWorks, which is in Hackettstown, New Jersey, way on the other corner of the state. Did weather consulting, did radio, social. Over in New Jersey, I said I've been to 3 corners of New Jersey. I just haven't spent any significant amount of time towards Philly. But very happy here where I am, in southeastern New Jersey.
All right, so let me ask you the question that's on everyone's minds then. Is it pork roll or tailored ham?
Oh my God.
Put you on the spot there.
So definitely pork roll.
Is it?
Wow.
I'll say that with a smile on my face.
I've been on Twitter for a while, all right, and the most popular tweet I've ever tweeted, the one that's been retweeted and liked more times than anything, is South Jersey was like 70-something and sunny, and North Jersey was like 40-something and cloudy. Big difference over the northern and southern half of the state. So I put, big difference in New Jersey weather-wise today. South Jersey has the sun because we correctly say pork roll. I got so many negative
People were loving
comments
it.
from North Jersey.
Yes.
And so many. It's a very divisive issue.
All right, so I was actually lying. So I actually didn't really even know what pork roll was, so I was about 13. I just thought it was Taylor ham my whole life. So I'll give you that.
Okay.
But now I'm okay. Some place on the boardwalk, like in Ocean City, they'll call it Taylor pork roll.
Combine the two.
I feel like
Okay.
they're trying to appease both sides. So I get down with it. But it's regardless, it's a good meat. I enjoy it, and I didn't have any this weekend.
No
I'm
matter
sure I'll have
what
one.
it's called, it all tastes the same.
That's right.
Is that true?
It's
Or
just
do
not
they taste
Canadian bacon.
different?
That's the one thing. It's not Canadian bacon. There is a difference.
But do
And I
they
do have to
taste the same here in South Jersey and then compared
I
to
think it does.
all
I
the
mean,
same?
I think it depends
Yeah, I
on the
think it
restaurant,
does. I think it does.
Now, off camera here, our executive director Tom Q just had a talk with us saying, "All right, let's talk about flooding and let's not go off tangent."
Yeah, he
and here
literally
we are
just
talking
told
about
us.
pork roll.
He has
So-
his head down. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Is it
I'm
going to flood?
I'm getting too much.
Yeah, I mean, we do have tidal flooding
that's
tonight,
really
so let's
good
bring
way.
it
We
back
do.
to topic
Yes.
and make Tom Q happy.
Hey,
Okay.
I'm
What's
just
the
trying
deal
to.
with the flooding tonight?
Yeah, so we have a minor coastal flooding tonight with the evening high tides. It's because we have pretty much low pressure system that's drawing in easterly winds. We had the new moon yesterday, so when you have the new moon, tides are a little higher. And that's why we're in minor flood stage. But it's only one cycle, so tomorrow morning we'll be all good. But this is the kind, especially in Atlantic City, West Atlantic City, Black Horse Pike, White Horse Pike is flooding. Wellington Avenue, Dorset Avenue Bridge, right before you get there. Those typical kind of places.
Yeah,
but,
like Rio Grande, Route 47,
yeah.
Ocean City by the lagoon. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Everyone in the shore knows what these kind of nuisance minor flooding
Exactly.
events are, where they're not that disruptive. I mean, everyone doesn't have to go move their car, but there will be some noticeable flooding on the hot spots.
Exactly, yeah, in the hot spot. Yeah, great way to put it, in the hot spots. So, and we've been pretty lucky, and I think we said this last time, but we haven't had too much significant flooding in the past couple of months.
Since October, really.
Yeah,
right?
since October, and that was really only 1 or 2 high tide cycles. It wasn't the extended, long duration kind of coastal flooding that we saw a lot of the previous winter. Now you could say 2 winters ago.
That's
Now,
right.
when we hear minor flooding, does that just mean be careful in those hot spots, driving and whatever? Or?
Yeah, so in minor flood stays, there's typically no damage to homeowners or businesses in that. It's really a roadway issue. I mean, if you live right along the bay shore, you can get water in your yard, absolutely. But nothing that's causing widespread damage. That's usually when you get into moderate flood stage. That's when you can start to see, and even still, it's only some areas depending on where you are. That's when you start to see the damage, the homes, or you start to get water into your, into your house or to your basement, places like that.
And now that we shift now from nor'easter season, and there still can be a freak nor'easter in May, even
good.
Occasionally in early June,
Well,
we start going to hurricane season, right?
We do, yeah.
And you have an interesting story, I believe, coming out tomorrow
Yeah.
in the press, right?
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I was at the New Jersey Emergency Preparedness Conference, which has been held for a long time here in Atlantic City, and it brings everybody from the emergency management community down. And the National Weather Service in Upton, New York, which isn't our area, but does cover the 5 northeast counties of New Jersey. Like where I was from in Union, I was an OKX guy, not a Philly guy, but they actually came down and was talking about improvements in hurricane messaging since Sandy. And really the big thing was when Sandy came, there were no hurricane warnings, there were no tropical storm warnings, but there were coastal flood warnings, high wind warnings. Excuse me, I'm having some kind of a talking problem tonight, but the point was, could we have done better? And the answer is probably we could have. And one of the main takeaways that I'm going to write about, and you'll see in the paper, is now if Sandy came exactly the same time, exactly like it did, and it made landfall as a post-tropical cyclone, meaning it transitioned from a warm core, kind of very symmetrical, what you would think of a hurricane-type storm, into like a extra-tropical storm, which looks more like a nor'easter, there would be hurricane watches and hurricane warnings up. And people think that because of that, it probably would have caused more people to evacuate, than had already previously, and brought heightened awareness to the situation. Actually, when I was at the meeting, I was with Gary Sazowski, who
former meteorologist in charge of
Mount
Holly.
Of Mount Holly, and he actually, pretty famously in the forecast discussion during, which is on the National Weather Service page, he said, he even gave his personal phone number, or at least his office phone number, and said, you can call me and yell at me all you want, but I think at the end of the day, you're going to be better off that we're telling you to get the heck out of here than to stay here. And I don't think anybody called him afterwards, but he was pretty effective at messaging, and that's the kind of things that they're trying to do. And they're also trying to do storm surge probabilities, as well as what's the other thing? Earliest reasonable time of arrival for tropical storm force winds, because once you start getting the tropical storm force winds, usually your emergency crews, fire, police, they're not going to come rescue you. The winds are too dangerous to come on out.
And it's all a good point kind of wraps in here, is that messaging is important, because a meteorologist can have the exact forecast correct of what's going to happen. You could say landfall exactly this time and it happens. Hurricane force winds arrive this time and it happens. But if you don't get that message out to the people in an easy to understand way, and a way that expresses the urgency, that forecast is kind of wasted.
Exactly.
So you have to communicate well, which is something that I know meteorologists work with and emergency managers work with, and everyone's trying to message better.
Exactly. Everyone's trying to message better, and I think the thing is, there were watches and warnings out, and of course a lot of people did evacuate, but when you see a hurricane warning, you're going to take that differently than a coastal storm warning on top of a high wind warning, because those are things we see, from time to time. Hurricane warning is not something you see all the time, so if you see that, you're more than likely to get out of here.
Now, I know that tornado warnings and flood warnings will alert you on your phone, on everyone's phone.
Correct. They're automatic
now,
on cell phones.
Would that happen with a hurricane warning now?
I don't think that's automatic. No.
Or?
So we haven't seen one, thankfully, since that's come into play. So I don't know if we have any personal experience with it. I don't know.
I don't think, because tornadoes, you get 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes warning. Flash floods are imminent. Hurricanes, when a hurricane warning goes up, you have a day or two to act before the hurricane. So it's not as urgent, so you don't have to get
So
the
they're
alert on your
hoping
phone.
that people have been in tune to
Right.
either TV, radio, social media, and would know
Exactly.
that a hurricane is
That's what you
coming.
would. Yeah, I would say. I would. If I had to guess, I would say probably not. But
Right, and when a hurricane warning goes up, I mean, people post it on Facebook, people share it on Twitter,
Right.
it scrolls across the bottom of your screen, and in a hurricane, because it moves slowly, you have days to react, or at least a day or two,
Right.
while tornadoes, you'll have minutes to react. So that's why, it's a good point, those warnings are automatic, hurricane warnings are not. And something else with Irene and Sandy, too, Irene had a hurricane warning. Everyone left. Nothing happened. It wasn't that
Nothing.
bad.
it was
so,
right.
I mean, it
People were
wasn't
making
as
T-shirts
bad.
about it
Right,
afterwards on the
right.
boardwalk. I remember that. Yeah.
So, and there was a hurricane warning. Then Sandy comes. We know as meteorologists, Sandy's going to be worse. Sandy's not going to miss us. But there was no hurricane warning. So if you're the person saying, well, wait a second, I left for a hurricane warning. Now there's no hurricane warning. I'm not going to leave this time. And less people left because of that. But they've corrected that now.
Yeah.
That's not a problem anymore.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there was that meme of like a picnic table with one chair fallen, and it
Yes.
was like
Yeah, probably.
Hurricane Irene.
You survived, yes.
I re-
And they
yeah.
have the same meme for winter snows, like with a dusting. I survived the blizzard.
I survived.
Or whatever, right?
I actually remember like specifically after Irene, there was one. Yeah.
Labor Day, Hermine, yes.
Yeah.
With an
Hermine.
off-camera guy.
We got-
chatting.
yeah,
Tom Cube.
That's right. It's the voice from the heavens coming down upon us. Let us know. No, I remember after Irene, I was down because it was around a Labor Day weekend, and I remember I went down. I was down to shore because I was at Rutgers. Went down to shore with my friend. I remember on the boardwalk, it was all like, "I survived Irene," you know, like.
Oh,
like
they
but-
had the T-shirts.
Yeah,
and
like the
everything?
t-shirt, like the t-shirt shop, like kind of t-shirts, you know. But like no one was doing that for Sandy. You know, there were shirts, of course, but that was
Right.
more for a wholesome cause than what was happening at you know, a general t-shirt.
And how do things like that hurt us? You know, if a Hurricane Irene happens and it wasn't as big as the news made it out to be, how could that, you know, be a problem for us forecasting in the future?
Well, go ahead. I'm not.
No, you're the guest. You're the guest.
No, well, that's right. I don't mean to take anything away from you. I was just gonna say, you know, you get into the crying wolf kind of thing. You know, oh, it's not gonna happen. You know, it's not gonna happen. And maybe in some way, because of Irene, you know, Sandy's evacuations or everything could have gone better. I mean, in terms of people, you know, being aware of everything. Because the thing is, you only remember, you know, you're going off of things that you remember, right? So if no one was here for the 1962 storm, then no one's going to remember that, and no one has anything to base it off of. So I think when Sandy comes, some people were thinking, oh, well, it might be like Irene. Irene, yeah, I mean, there was wind, there was rain, some flooding, but nothing unusual, nothing too crazy. But, you know, we saw it happen. So maybe, in a way, it was better if Irene didn't come, because then when we got to Sandy, then we were able to, you know, really say, like, oh, my God, this is something I've never seen before. I've never seen a tropical system make landfall or, you know, get really close to us. That's how I would feel. I don't know.
I agree. I always say people think the next hurricane is going to be like the last one. So, wait, hurricane, I remember we missed it. You know, we got off unscathed, so the next one's going to be like that. So they always remember the most recent storm, and they think the next one's going to be like that, and you have to realize that every storm is different.
Yeah, every storm's different. I mean, maybe on a positive, the next time we see something, people are going to think of Sandy, and people might be like, oh, I need to get out.
Right.
You know, we kind of had that this past, was it Hermine? I'm trying to think of September.
Well, we had that with Hermine in September, which
Right.
was the Labor Day one that they canceled the beach concerts, and a lot of people didn't come down, and nothing happened. And nothing happened, but we extremely lucked out there as well.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of something that happened last September. We're like about 5 or 7 days out. There was the potential. I can't remember the storm off the top of my head, but I think a lot of people were already like, "What's going to happen? What's going to happen?"
Right.
Even though I can't remember the storm, I think it went out to sea or something that
Okay.
didn't impact us.
Okay.
Now, how quickly can a hurricane change course?
Well, I would say it's more of is the modeling keeping up with what the direction of the hurricane is going to be. So when we have a hurricane cone, that cone of uncertainty shows the 2/3 potential, or you have a 66% chance of the storm being within that cone. And I think even if you looked at Sandy, because I was actually looking at this for my article tomorrow, if you look at that last Hurricane Center graphic before Sandy made landfall, I think, and maybe Dan, you can let me know about this, but I think that it actually because it made landfall in Brigantine, that was actually outside of the cone, I think, a little bit. I think it was more of a Cape May County thing. Do you know anything about that?
No, I'm not sure.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's kind of the modeling help. Our modeling has done a lot better with hurricane forecasting. We're as accurate with the track of a storm, a track of a hurricane, 5 days out now as we were 3 days out in the early 2000s. So that's about 15 years, and we've gone about 2 days better with the track of the forecast.
Yeah, it's the intensity where we have troubles forecasting.
Exactly.
Track's better, intensity not so good. And also we have to remember with hurricanes, kind of bringing it back to tidal flooding to make Tom Q happy again too. It's the water, it's not the wind in a hurricane, especially in this part of the country, that is going to do damage. And we saw that with Sandy. I always say the derecho had winds over 100 miles an hour. Sandy had winds to like 80.
Right.
So the derecho was much worse in terms of wind. Sandy had the wind, but it was the flooding. It was the storm surge. It's the water, not the wind, that kills most people in hurricanes and does most of the damage, especially in this part of the country.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, unless you're talking about like a Cat 5 hurricane coming through.
Like then the one that hit down in Florida.
Right, the one that hit down in Florida. But even still, the winds from a hurricane, hurricane force winds might only extend 30, 40 miles. But Sandy impacted the whole state. Not everywhere saw hurricane force gusts, even, which would be 75 miles an hour.
And at what point do you know, okay, there's going to be major flooding?
Well,
and how many times it's going to be, how many times it's going to flood during the storm?
I think if based on the forecasted track of the storm, I think you can make an idea of the coastal flooding. I mean, if you're forecasting a Category 2 storm that's making a track like Sandy from east to west moving in, and you're on the north side of that storm because low-pressure systems are rotating counterclockwise. So if you think about it, kind of tilt your head a little bit, and you think about it, it's kind of pushing that water in. Well, then you're talking about multiple high tide cycles that are flooding, and even low tide cycles that might be in flood stage as well. If it's a storm like Irene, where it's kind of coming south to north along the coast, that's going to be a quicker pass, or flooding won't last the coastal flooding won't last as long because you're only getting it really when the storm is kind of pushing into the. So if New Jersey's here, the winds are pushing this way, you're getting the coastal flooding. But then on the other side, the storm is pushing out, then you kind of lose that. That doesn't mean there can't be other flooding. I remember on Irene when I was at Rutgers, the Raritan River was flooded for days. You couldn't get past it. Right. But when you're talking about the coastal flooding, it won't be as bad. And that's sometimes what happens. I think even in October, when we had our moderate borderline major flood stage event, the way the storm tracked, it kind of was just one big hit, and then the winds flipped around to the northwest, everything was draining out, except for some of the back bays that still held on.
Yeah, so you can accurately predict tidal flooding several days out. We knew Sandy was going to be bad. The only thing that we didn't know was who was going to get it the worst. And as Joe alluded to, it's where the eye makes landfall. If you're in a boat out looking over the ocean, like watching the hurricane come ashore, you shouldn't be in a boat, but let's say you are, to the right of the eye, whoever is to the right of the eye making landfall gets the worst storm surge. So if that eye made landfall in Sandy in Cape May, Atlantic County would have had it much, much, much worse because the eye made landfall in Atlantic City, Ocean County, to the right, up the coast, had it much, much worse.
Well, that's why I was asking, sorry.
No, go.
That's why I was asking how quickly things can change, because I know that when you're looking at these posts by meteorologists and it says, this was posted 5 hours ago, how accurate is that when you're tracking a storm? Like when do you know, okay, this is a...
I think there's a variety of factors, but, let's take Sandy, for example. I would say, 3 days out, we knew there was going to be multiple rounds of high tide flooding. I mean, that's when right as soon as that cone was kind of like, all right, we're coming into New Jersey, then you're like, all right, well, we know, granted that cone stays the same, you knew it was going to happen. So, and that's it all ties into something called probabilistic forecasting, which is, okay, I'm not going to tell you, like, yes, it's going to rain, or no, it's not, but I'm going to give you the range of scenarios. And actually, when I was at the talk at the Trop last week, one of the examples they gave was Hurricane Ike, which didn't impact here, but impacted Florida. And what they said was they used a deterministic forecasting that said Pensacola, Florida, which is in the Panhandle. Their deterministic forecast, which is kind of like more like a yes or no answer, was saying, okay, it's not really going to be that bad in Pensacola. Whereas if they looked at the probabilities of how much water was going to be on shore, there was something like a 50% chance that they were going to get 4 feet of water, and what happened? They ended up getting 4 to 6 feet of water, and then people were kind of caught off guard. So it kind of dives into that as well.
I also think and you mentioned it, when you see the time on a post 4 hours ago, 4 minutes ago, obviously the more recent posts are more accurate because weather can change, and you should always check that timestamp. And you should always check your source too. We say that all the time
Yes.
here. You have to get your weather. It doesn't have to be from meteorologist Dan Skeldon or meteorologist
Exactly,
Joe
yeah.
Martucci, but
Maybe
it has
from
to be
Palma,
from
though.
or from Palma.
Yeah,
She
or
probably
from
gets it more
Palma's a
accurate.
different story. We let her go.
But you do have to get it from a trusted source or a blend of trusted sources. Where
Exactly.
and there are plenty of great sources out there. There are also plenty of what I call social meteorologists.
Social meteorologists, that's right.
You know, they're on social media. They'll find like say we have 20 computer models. They'll find the one that brings in the worst case scenario to South Jersey. They'll post it and say, "Hey, look what could happen," and everyone shares that, and everyone thinks we're getting a doomsday
Is
storm.
that a publicity? Like a publicity?
It's to get
all about the
likes.
followers.
Yeah, to get retweets. I mean, sometimes it's like a 15-year-old kid who doesn't know what they're doing. Oh my God, look at this! This looks bad. And people, you know, it catches fire. It becomes a viral post. Social media is great because it spreads information, but it also spreads misinformation. So you got a great, reliable source like the Press of Atlantic City, and you find and you trust that source because there's a lot of bad information out on social media now.
Yeah, and you know, it doesn't always hurt to do research on, you know, the source if you really are, you know, curious. I mean, obviously anything you get from the National Weather Service or government agencies is going to be great. But, you know, if you're looking at, you know, meteorologists in the media, which is usually how most people are interacting, you could do pretty easily some fact checking about whether this person is legit or not. Or even if you're talking about, you know, to your point, like is it a 15-year-old? If you're searching on Bing or Google for, you know, random person on Twitter and you don't see anything, well, more than likely it might just be a 15-year-old who's posting something, whether it's for good intentions or not. So,
and you know, and they don't necessarily mean harm. Because I actually did a story in the Press of Atlantic City on a local kid who is a aspiring meteorologist now, and he shared a snowfall map that had South Jersey getting like 40 inches of snow. It was the extreme. It was the outlier.
When was
it
this?
went viral. This was, I'd say, by 2013 maybe.
Okay.
I'm not going to share his name. I think he'd be fine if I did, because it was we did a press story on it, and he is the greatest. You know, he was the greatest enthusiastic kid. Now he's like, I'm not sure exactly. I think he's in college or getting older now, and maybe even beyond that. But he didn't know he was doing wrong. He was just, you know, when I did that as a kid, I went to school and like I handed out pamphlets that I ran off or printed out on my home dot matrix printer. Now you press a button and it can go around the world. So again, you do have to be careful. Some people do it willfully, they know they're causing harm. Others don't know what they're doing. They're just sharing something that they think is real.
yeah, I mean, and also, like, just going off personal experience, me being 16-year-old and really interested in the weather and starting to, like, dive in a little deeper into what's going on. You see, like, this one model, I'm like, oh my God, this is great. Like, I want to, like, 40 inches of snow. That's awesome. Now, when I was 16 or 17, I had Facebook, but Facebook was just starting, and Twitter was not really a thing. So if I posted something online, it wasn't an image. You know, it was like, oh my God, this one model had, like, something. I didn't do that much. But, you know, I think there's so many people who are interested in weather, you know, and they're young, which is great to get them involved. You know, it's nice, but to your point, you know, you got to make sure you trust your source. You know, those kids, I'm sure, will be great 5, 6, 7 years from now. They're in college, and I've seen people personally just in the past 5 years who maybe when I first started like really getting on Twitter and seeing these people, you know, they might have been a senior in high school or a freshman in college, and now they're like, you know, they're working for the government or working for a TV station, and people are liking them. So, you know, these people, I think more people, I think, mean good things, you know, from doing this, but you do want to trust your source.
Now, overall, would you say that social media has been a benefit to the weather community?
Oh, damn, what do you
After
think?
everything that you just said? Like,
I
weighing
think
the
if you
pros
filter
and
things
cons.
out, it has, because you reach more people. I mean, we are on social media talking about tidal flooding and pork roll and hurricanes and so on and so forth.
Right.
You know, you
Flooding,
reach more people.
Flooding,
You said
yeah,
that,
flooding.
right?
And I said that was the first thing I said.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say overall it's a good thing. I mean, I think, especially for like what I'm doing and what Dan did at the press, being able to reach out in an extra way means a lot. And like when I do like my weather videos, there's about a list of about 37 Facebook groups that I'm sharing to all across South Jersey. And people might click on them and then they might like your page and then they can see more of what's going on. So I think there's great ways to brand yourself and do it. So I would say overall it's a positive. But, kind of like anything in life, nothing's going to be 100% positive or 100% negative. There's always some conflicts. But I think overall, when we're talking about, for myself, I think it's been a big benefit because it's really helped me, get extra opportunities. And I can point to an opportunity I had last week that came directly through social media. So I will say, for me personally, I think it's been a benefit.
Yeah, I think it's a great way. I mean, we are on many platforms for Tidal Flooding Talk. Facebook Live. And we have different social media accounts.
Instagram.
Right.
We have an Instagram too.
Got Instagram,
so.
yeah. Got a couple of tags from Coastal Coalition today.
It's how you reach people.
That's right.
Actually, some of our comments now. Steve Martucci, meteorologist,
Steve. Yes.
and I think the most talented weather photographer in South Jersey as well. And he actually says he was in the article with the weather enthusiast I was mentioning. I did a story on. So I'm not going to mention the other weather
He's
enthusiast.
a pro.
But Steve's a pro. Steve's awesome.
I actually went to Rutgers with his wife.
Okay, she was an intern for me at NBC 40.
Oh, Courtney.
Way back in the day as well. That's right.
She's
Yeah,
a little older than me.
Courtney, yes.
Yeah.
Who's great. So, hi, Steve. Hi, Courtney. Nice to have you
What's
guys
happening,
on.
Steve? Courtney.
Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. Barbara Wood says, have they released predictions for the hurricane season? We have a place in Florida and always worry.
Yeah, you want me to? I can go?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I mean, going off of Colorado State University, which is really like one of the gold standards for weather in terms of hurricane forecast, and you think, why Colorado? I don't know the full story, but anyway, they're predicting about an average hurricane season. Now, for us in New Jersey, looks to be a lower than average risk. Florida, unfortunately, I just don't remember what it was. I was looking more at what's happening in New Jersey. But
and it only takes one. We always say that, too.
That's
I mean,
the thing.
you can have a quiet season, but you get one bad storm. That's all it takes. And you never know where they're going to go. Yeah, so prepare now. It's June 1st to November 30th. And
believe it or not, it is June 1st, even though it's 53 and raining outside on May, whatever day today is. Was it May 6th?
Yes.
May 5th. May 5th.
Yeah, if you're watching live, you can add comments or questions for our guests.
Yeah, we'll take
right on
questions. Love to
Facebook.
hear from you guys. Absolutely.
Betty and Morgan work. Dan McLean says, hi, guys. Nice to have you on.
Hey, everybody.
Kristen says, Dan, hi, Dan. Palma, welcome back, Joe. A quick question, because some people are saying, when's this rain going to stop? The sun will come out tomorrow?
The sun will come out tomorrow, yes. We have a partly sunny day coming up tomorrow. We had, I wrote this for tomorrow's column, but we had a 50-50 weekend. Saturday pretty good, Sunday not so nice. We're kind of have a 50-50 week coming up where Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, pretty good. Thursday, Friday, not as good. So, it's just part of the pattern that we're in. We're kind of in something called like a quasi-stationary front. I won't bore everybody with the details, but basically it's one front that's slowly moving north, slowly moving south. And as it does, these waves of low pressure come in, kind of makes for an unsettled forecast.
And this should be, although tonight should be our only minor tidal flooding event, right?
Correct.
Which you said earlier.
That is correct, yeah. I mean, there is potential for Thursday, just because looks to be some southeasterly winds pushing in, but nothing is definite. I think this, more than anything, is going to be the worst that we see all.
Okay.
And the flooding will subside by the morning?
Yeah, flooding will subside.
Commute?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think even by midnight, really, except for some of the back bays, we should be flood-free.
Okay, wonderful.
All right, and now Tom Q is our timekeeper, too, and I think we're a little over tonight. So, as always, guys, we are here live at the Irish Pub. I think I mentioned Tom Q's name way too many times this week. I'm in trouble afterwards.
And a little different tonight, since you already have 2 Irish Pub T-shirts. We decided to.
But we
go
do love
with...
them.
Now, Kenzie got a little piggy bank.
Yeah.
Joe's been wanting a piggy
We're
I
bank.
have been wanting an Irish Pub piggy bank. I
We're
was jealous last week.
We're shopping the gift shop because there's more than just T-shirts there in the Irish Pub. So this time we're giving an Irish Pub pint glass.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. I will use
You can
this.
fill that up with the lager of your choice
Yes.
afterwards.
Wow, Kurt, look at this. Everything I ever wanted.
It's
Thanks,
Joe
Dan.
Martucci from
Appreciate
the
it.
Press of Atlantic City.
Thanks
Quickly,
for
how
joining
can
us.
people follow you?
Sure. So you can follow me on Facebook or Instagram at JoeMartWX or on Twitter at AC Press Martucci. Website, we got videos coming to you now 3 times a day this week at thepressofac.com/weather.
Wonderful.
All right, again, we're always brought to you by the New Jersey Coastal Coalition. Now, next week is Mother's Day. I will be spending it with my
New mother. Well, new
my,
wife
yes,
slash mother.
my first-time mother and my
First-time
wife
mother.
Amanda. I'll be doing a live stream with Kenzie and Amanda if I can get her on next Sunday. The following Sunday, the 19th, we are back here at the Irish Pub with someone I've worked with extensively. Actually went to New Orleans with the National Hurricane Conference, Atlantic County Emergency Management Coordinator Vince Jones.
Great guy to have
Who's
on,
an
absolutely.
awesome guy.
I haven't talked to Vince in a while, but I'm sure he'll
Which
be
is a
great.
good thing, which means things have been quiet, right?
Yes, things have been quiet. Yes, I haven't had to reach out to him, so things have been quiet.
And
yes.
he is a first-time guest, so it'll be great to have Vince on. Of course, you guys are welcome to come down to the Irish Pub or listen live. So that's the next time we'll be here on the 19th. I will see you from my living room with Kenzie next Sunday, Mother's Day.
Awesome.
Good night.
Good night.